The question is that the words proposed to be omitted stand part of the question, and I call the Honourable Member for Warringah.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on the Privacy Amendment Public Health Contact Information Bill to facilitate the correct handling of the data collected through the COVID Safe app. I commend the Government on the legislation presented and its willingness to embrace the amendments and the concerns that have been raised, in particular by the Law Council of Australia. I do have concerns about the messaging that the Government has deployed to encourage people to download it and people's understanding of what it is and how it works. The app is not like sunscreen. It will not protect you. It's not a warning beacon. It won't keep you away from a person or risk of contamination. My biggest concern is that people, having downloaded the app, will get complacent about the most important measures that they need to take, which is to maintain their physical distancing, maintain awareness of their health and good hand hygiene. The app is simply a tool to work out who you may have come into contact with after someone has been tested. It helps the Department of Health officials with contact tracing. Once someone has tested positive to COVID-19, health officials will request permission to download the data from the app on the user's phone. The health officials will then use that data to contact those people who have been within 1.5 metres of that positive case more than 15 minutes. Now, if you're a person that keeps a diary and you can keep a very clear, precise account of who you might have been in contact with, or it's been so little that you're not concerned, this is probably not aimed at you. But for those who may resume taking public transport, resume places of work where there will be numerous people, this will be an important way of being able to contact strangers, people you may not have been aware of, but who will have been within 1.5 metres for a period of 15 minutes. But we need to be clear, it's not a silver bullet, you don't get an alert, you're not warned, it's retrospective. You must maintain your distance and you must maintain that good hygiene. Now, the legal protections have been a big part of the discussion around the app. This bill addresses many of those concerns and that were raised by the Privacy Impact Assessment and stakeholders, including the Law Council of Australia. The biosecurity determination raised some concern and the bill replaces. The bill clarifies the role of the Privacy Commissioner and confers powers to the Commissioner in interactions with the state and territories. It imposes specific obligations on the data administrator regarding deletion of data that requires the government to delete the data as soon as possible. It prohibits the use and disclosure of data collected by the app and coercion of other persons to use the app. For example, no one can be forced to download it, for example, to resume their employment or attend certain premises. It prohibits the creating and using of derivative data from data that can be collected by the app and reverse engineering or re-identifying data that has been de-identified. There are some remaining concerns expressed by the Law Council of Australia, and I do share those concerns. These are that the legislation should prescribe minimum design specifications for the app and the data store themselves, that the app must operate on a strictly voluntary basis at all times with mechanisms for users to opt out, and that streamlined arrangements to manage the interaction of investigations by the Privacy Commissioner with law enforcement investigations for offences for breaching the prohibitions on the use of data under which the Commissioner is not obliged to discontinue investigations. A lot of people are very confused about the app. The technical aspects are interesting. I've spoken with data security experts, including Fergus Hanson from ASPI, and I'm pleased that the government has implemented various security and privacy arrangements into the technical design, including the app works on Bluetooth via digital handshake, and when you come within 1.5 metres of someone for a period of 15 minutes, now it does not require your GPS or any other location data, sensing data to be turned on. It will not, like playing your speaker, for example, if you're playing music, the closer you are, that 1.5 metre distance is about where the signal will be strongest. The app records the time and the unique ID of the other apps around. This unique ID changes every 2 hours to help prevent passive tracking by other applications, and this is a concern that's been raised by many constituents. The unique ID data is saved on the phone, and it's an important privacy feature. All the data is stored on your phone, not a centralised database. The app works on a consent-based model, so if you're confirmed as a COVID-positive case, you'll be asked for permission to access the contact list on your device. If you grant permission, the data will then be uploaded to a secure government server managed by Amazon Web Services and located here in Australia. Health officials will use that data to assist contact tracing. I do remain concerned with the functionality of the app on certain phones, in particular iPhones and older phones. The security settings built into iPhone operating systems prevent Bluetooth from conducting the handshake effectively when running in the background. So for the app to work effectively, the iPhone needs to be unlocked and the app needs to be running in the foreground without too many other Bluetooth-enabled apps running at the same time. This is a common problem that all governments have faced in the development of similar tracing apps. The government has an obligation to be truthful with the public about the functionalities of the app and its limitations. But I do support the recent comments by various tech industry professionals in what we should understand that the app and supporting regulation has been commissioned as a matter of urgency. Therefore, it will be imperfect at an early stage of release and it will need to be improved upon. And I urge the government to continue modifying and rectifying issues as they arise. There's no doubt, though, that as many people have wrestled with whether or not they are comfortable with downloading the app, trust in government has been a big part. It's been a moral quandary for many individuals, sometimes within same households. Since the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Centres on September 11, 2001, data incursion has been pushed by government in the name of national security. As a result, Australians have seen a gradual erosion of their privacy and a rise of scepticism. Similar, with the advent of social media and smartphones, tech companies are using data in the name of profiteering. Here, users are asked to sacrifice their privacy to improve their experience and convenience. Now, these developments have all been against a backdrop of a steady decline in trust in government, caused in part by regular scandals, the rushing through of the metadata retention laws in 2015, and subsequent expansion of access under those laws, and the controversial My Health Record Service. Lack of trust in and transparency by government is a major hurdle to all of those who have not yet downloaded the app. Government should show goodwill by putting forward urgently legislation in relation to a National Integrity Commission with real powers. This was promised at the end of 2019. We're still not before the House. Yet we've seen a number of legislations brought here with urgency because clearly the situation demands it. It shows that clearly when there's a will, there's a way. And there should be no further delay in introducing the legislation to ensure a National Integrity Commission with teeth so that Australians can have confidence that there is accountancy and transparency in government. Most recently, and yet again in the press, the sports rot scandal has reinforced that lack of trust in government. The recent revelations that there may in fact have been authorisation by the Prime Minister's office in relation to that sports expenditure raises a really concerning inference that there may have been a misleading of the House in terms of responses. This undermines the very fabric of democracy if we can't trust what is said in this place. To that end, it is now more important than ever to form a National Integrity Commission and restore trust in that integrity of governments, transparency in governance. We've seen it in the very response to this crisis. We've seen the government establish the National COVID-19 Coordination Commission. Now, there was certainly no promoting or advertising its creation or its content, or the people on it, its agenda. There is no transparency in relation to its principles, what are its priorities. There is no accountability. There is no reporting mechanism. It's a clear lack of transparency. And it's only been, and I note that in fact before the Senate committee tomorrow there will be an appearance by the National COVID Coordination Committee members. And I welcome to see some of those answers. It's that lack of transparency that undermines trust in things like the app. Because in a response to a crisis like this, it is so important that party politics be put aside and in fact everyone in this place come together to find solutions for the so many Australians that are suffering through this crisis. Restoring that trust is absolutely vital. This app is mostly aimed at our younger generation, because I think it's fair to say that our older generations are very cautious in their public interactions. If there is a lifting of restrictions, they are very focused on who they have contact with and maintaining their social distancing. But the greater level of concern is as our younger people head back out into the community and are involved and in contact with more people, that in fact they download the app. And so the government is asking for trust from our young people. Now, I would argue that they are the very people that have been left last on the list of considerations by the government. And so I would urge the government to think about putting in place more supporting measures for our young people, for all of those on casual contracts that are not receiving assistance under the current packages. We have a generation that is facing so many challenges. They are deeply concerned about the impacts of climate change and of so many issues that are impacting around the world. They are deeply concerned about the debt that is being incurred and the economic crisis that is coming from this health crisis. They are the generation that will have to bear it on their shoulders. They will have to work hard, and they deserve this government's attention for them to give them hope, to give them a sense that they are very much at the centre of the focus of this government. I think if the government can give them that faith and trust and courage and hope that they are a priority, I believe that they will turn around and be all the more supportive of this app, and they will trust the government when it comes to their privacy and download the app and play their part. So it's important for all those hesitating to download the app today to make an informed decision. It is a part each and every one of us can play. It's important you take that responsibility seriously, but it is important that you can all do your bit. But mostly, remember, it is not a solution, it is just another tool. So please maintain your physical distancing, maintain your hygiene and social distancing measures, get tested if you have any health concerns, and stay informed.
I thank the honourable member for Warringah.